What is up, guys? The Strong Boys 19 here. So this is going to be episode number 2 for Sabotage Bad Albums. The last episode that I had done a video on this segment was my rant and review on Corey Feldman's 2016 abomination, that is Angelic to the Core. Now, I wanted to come back to this record since I wanted to talk about it, because there are some people that still really makes this album hugely popular because of its relevant but bad, hugely negative, divided reception. And I'm going to be giving you guys my own spins, my take on talking about this album from 2011 by Lou Reed and Metallica, entitled Lulu. Now, Lulu is hugely negative upon release, and I was really surprised that they decided to get away with this. The whole inspiration behind this entire record was on a few set of Lulu plays done by German artist Frank Wedekind, and Lou Reed took that inspiration and decided to write a ton of these lyrics based on these two German plays. Now, when I was younger, when I was seeing and hearing The View when it came out, I was really negative. But I was that much of a close-minded, judgmental idiot to bash this experiment without giving the album as a whole a lot of credit and chances. But when I did listen to it all the way through, I had disliked it, and I had to place Lulu and Angelic to the Core tied for number 1 in my list of the worst albums of all time. The more I think about it, my reactions from Angelic to the Core and Lulu are totally different. However, I still see Lulu as one of the worst albums of all time. It is not now, for me, the worst album ever, because my reactions and feelings towards Corey Feldman's album, they were real when I had ranted about that album, and I declared that album as the worst album of all time. So Lulu, with that being said, is a record that I still really dislike, but at the same time, I want to respect it, because there are some people out there who loves this album from start to finish. And with me being a fanatic of the Velvet Underground since last year and really liking some of his solo material, and for me to be a fan of Metallica as well, I didn't really want to think back at my past self as saying that this experiment shouldn't have existed, it was a complete disaster, blah, 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 blah. Whatever they wanted to achieve on this record, there was no intentions for me to look back at my reactions and say these same things, because I love Metallica and Lou Reed. This album still really gets a lot of divided attention, and what's the most surprising for me is to see David Bowie's quote calling Lulu as Lou Reed's greatest work, which threw me off at first, but since that I love David Bowie, I had to give him respect and props. It is 87 minutes. Like I did with my Angelic to the Core album review, I have typed notes on my laptop notepad that I will read them off to you guys. So my reaction after listening to Lulu once again is still pretty much the same, but there were some different feelings towards some bits of some material on this album that were different to how I used to feel about the whole thing in the first place. The whole album starts with the first track called Brandenburg Gate. It starts with some acoustic guitars and Lou Reed's voice coming in, then pops in a pack of decent riffing, but it goes on with repeats of the lyrics of Small Town Girl from James Hetfield. It's not the worst song on the record already, but it's boring. And track 2, which is the most popular, the most memed, most comedic track on here for many people, The View. Starts with loud crashing cymbals from Lars's drumming, and again with some decent riffs, but Lou's vocals are sloppily placed, and it's not a giant of a song from its looping instrumentation, and James Hetfield's vocals on here are annoying as the song continues on with his sayings of I am whatever he is. I am the view, I am the tablet, I am the table, etc. Track 3, Pumping Blood. Some wall of noise in parts and classical violins, and this one tries to be totally different, which it is, and the vocal delivery is again out of place, and musically was trying its best, but it's lacking interesting playability and definition, and there were some moments on this track that sounded far better than the later parts that the progression continued on from this track. Track 4, Mistress Dread, which is, in my opinion, the worst song on this whole album. It is a fast, thrash-picked guitar playing style with fast drumming, and the speed was obviously quicker, but the song drags on too long. It's nothing special of a song, and the vocals were out of tune sometimes. It feels completely loose and monotonously uninteresting throughout. Track 5, Iced Honey. Now, this is a song that I think is not bad. Decent piece of music that's similar to Brandenburg Gate, and it was better than the previous tracks, and this feels more in place, but it's not a beast of a song. It is okay. It's somewhat passable. Track 6, which finishes the first half of this album, called Cheat on Me. It starts with electronic sounds and fades with some drones. Some of the instrumentals are really soft with violins, and later on clean guitars and electric guitar noises. It's another piece of music that isn't as messy as the others, but unfortunately it does get boring after the 5+ minutes from the song's continuation, and I wouldn't cite it as a masterpiece, but Iced Honey sounds better for me. Now, track 1, well, track 7 really, the second half of this album, Frustration. Again, starts with noises in the introductions, and the guitars are tuned heavier, so it's one of the heavier sounding tracks to drop C guitar tunings. Okay riffing, again, some bit of a groove metal sound to it. Changes with ambient sounds and different drumming coming in later on. And Metallica comes back in with the same riffs. Some of the lyrics on here are laughable, that it just goes on repeat some parts. It's not a great track though, but I respect what they are doing. Little Dog, track 8. Down-tuned acoustic guitars and feedback noises on the electric guitars while Lou speaks from his lyrics, but unfortunately, yet again, it's another really dragging song that doesn't go anywhere from the duration of the music and the lyrics. It is, again, one of the most boring songs on this record. Track 9, Dragon. Electric feedback effects panning through the background, and Lou speaks from his lyrics again, and then Metallica with their riffs, but at the same time it feels uninspired and it's not bringing any chemistry. Then it just gets so bland when it goes on. The last track, track 10, Junior Dad, is 19.5 minutes, the longest track to conclude this album. It is highly repetitive musically, but it sounds good at the same time. Violins coming in with the band from their droning notes. This combines again with clean guitars and loud distortion, but when the band stops playing, the last half of this song continues with the lovely sounding violins, and I think it's really, really nice. But what's disappointing about this track is that it could have been a lot better. Something melodic or striking would have made things better to make this track really, really good. However, in my opinion, it is as listenable as iced honey. So with that being said, Lulu is an album, like I said earlier on, I still really don't like the whole album in its entirety. Besides some of the positives that I had later on expressed whilst listening to this whole album, I would like to see what your reactions and comments are about this album down in the comments below. This is an album that will still go down in history as one of the most polarizing and very, very controversial albums. And sadly, this was the last Lou Reed album that he had done until his passing in October 2013. Anyways, that's all I have to say about Lulu, the collaborative album from Lou Reed and Metallica. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.